It's been 4 years since Street Fighter V released to mixed reception. We've just gotten Street Fighter V Champion Edition with the inclusion of 2 high-profile boss characters from the franchise's history. If I was a betting man, I'll say that Street Fighter V has seen its end. Things have been looking grim for Capcom since 2018. Esports often take priority in many companies' eyes. Capcom is no doubt guilty of this, as they have a dedicated series of tournaments themselves called the Capcom Cup. During EVO 2018, Dragon Ball FighterZ became the first game in years to surpass a Street Fighter game in the number of entrants. To make matters worse, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was rejected from participating in the main events. Additionally, it's been heavily speculated that Street Fighter V will not return to the Capcom Cup after 2020. Capcom haven't had the best of luck with their fighting games in recent years. Those reasons alone have led me to believe that a new Street Fighter game may be in the foreseeable future. Returning to the topic at hand, I structured this roster to have 26 available slots. I acknowledge the fact that Street Fighter VI will introduce new characters, but I decided to primarily feature existing characters for my prediction. Street Fighter IV featured 25 characters at launch, whereas Street Fighter V featured 16. I wanted to keep the amount of characters relatively realistic. Given the rough launch of Street Fighter V, I would imagine that Capcom would want to take things up a notch just to avoid the same thing from happening again. This is my prediction as to what the roster of Street Fighter VI could possibly look like. You could consider this being the safe route. I like to look at more than just the gameplay aspect to characters, which is why I will detail how each character could contribute in the form of content, improvements, story possibilities, and so on. I'm also a bit on the casual side, so I won't be going in depth with what mechanical changes could take place. What can I say? I like to be well-rounded. If that doesn't sit well with you, I apologize in advance. The first 5 characters on the list are series staples, and we wouldn't have a Street Fighter game without the main character, Ryu. Despite the Smash Ultimate render that I'm using for this video, I hope with all of my might that Capcom uses his bearded outfit as his default costume. Street Fighter III was chronologically the strongest we've seen the character, and I look forward to seeing how they represent that with his gameplay, appearance, and role in the story. I also enjoyed the return of his Denjing Hadoken. The move was translated well with his cinematic V-trigger featured in Street Fighter V. Moving on, Chun-Li is the next returning character. Out of the dozens of characters that were featured in Street Fighter V, I felt like Chun-Li was translated the best. I feel like there's more left to be discovered with Chun-Li's character, especially with the downfall of Shadaloo and her life as an instructor. I would also love for Capcom to return to the beta of Street Fighter V and implement the version of Chun-Li from the first trailer. Next is Cammy, a beloved character of the Street Fighter series. Like Chun-Li, Cammy's transition into Street Fighter V was visually flawless. A well-made character model coupled with the swiftness of her gameplay style left me in awe. Cammy has always been an ever-developing character, from Shadaloo Doll to Delta Red. I look forward to seeing what direction her character will go in next. Next up is Ken. In Street Fighter V, a lot of people had issues with his appearance. His face and hair wasn't treated with the same level of care as the other characters. In the upcoming game, I would like for Capcom to take inspiration from his Smash Ultimate appearance. No banana hair, no weird face, just Ken. On the gameplay side, I love the improvements that made him feel that much different from Ryu. Ken's flashy and fiery fighting style suits him perfectly. Capping off the series' flagship characters is Akuma. I felt that Akuma was refined in Street Fighter V. He was further enhanced to stand out amongst a handful of Shoto characters, and it worked. Akuma is always a welcomed addition to any Street Fighter title. I did not mind his new design, even though I expect for it to return to his classic one. Hey, I hope you don't mind me cutting in here. If you liked the video so far, make sure to subscribe for more content like this. Up next is Sakura, another Shoto character that became refined by the subtle and not so subtle gameplay enhancements that distinguished her. Sakura has been a character that we all desperately waited for. Her new character design and direction felt perfect. Sakura, much like many of the characters that I have yet to get to, has the potential of being so much more. Speaking of potential, Karen has exceeded every one of my expectations. Gameplay wise, she's a delight to watch. Her animations perfectly reflect how elegant and aggressive she is as a character. Karen is a prime example of how a character can improve in every way due to character development. Ever since she matured from the immature, bratty person that she was, everything from her role in the story to her character design improved in the process. Street Fighter V proved that Karen has the potential of being a great staple. I remember begging for her to return ever since Street Fighter IV. Following the heir of the Kanzuki estate is a character that fans have been begging for ever since 1999, Shan. Shan is a student of Ken Masters who solidified himself as another Shoto character. Although I trust that Capcom would refine his moveset like the Shotos listed prior, Shan's moveset was already distinguished. Last but not least, he also didn't utilize fireballs in the same way as his counterparts, offering a different experience. Out of the many Street Fighter III characters, Q was a character that naturally stood out from the rest. The eeriness and raw aggression that the character displays with his animations is something to admire. Beyond his gameplay, Q is a character with an everlasting potential. Judging from his ending in Third Strike, there may very well be multiple people taking up the moniker of Q. Fans even theorized that G was Q. They could still do something like that, and spice things up a little. They do share a similar moveset, and it would be fascinating for their styles to come together. The next character that I think is a shoe-in for Street Fighter VI is Ed. Admittedly, I didn't like Ed at first. I thought he was just some punk kid that got buffed up for the sake of looking relevant, but I was wrong. Ed has a lot going for himself. In terms of gameplay, you can feel the confidence and flamboyance in the way that he moves. It goes hand in hand with his personality. After delving deeper into his story, I saw a different side to Ed. He was a troubled kid that got taken in by Balrog, adapting some of his vulgar personality in the process. Due to being manufactured in a lab, he ages at a rapid pace. He formed a group many fans label Neo Shadaloo in order to find more victims like him. An anti-hero like Ed interacting with the likes of Cammy and characters with ties with Shadaloo would make for some interesting interactions. Following up is Juri, another beloved character of the series. Juri is a speedy character armed with projectiles and high maneuverability. Every roster needs a well-rounded character, and Juri fits that mold. There are many avenues that Capcom could take Juri down. I don't know what exactly to expect, but I just look forward to seeing what characters she will interact with. I want to see a combination of the sadistic person that we were introduced to in Street Fighter IV with the anti-hero gone soft in Street Fighter V. Next up is Rashid, a highlight character of Street Fighter V to me. His moveset is addicting, featuring a combination of speedy hits and arcing projectiles. Rashid is a flashy character with charm in the form of his comedic attitude, heroic demeanor, and fascinating gameplay. He's a newcomer that I wouldn't mind seeing back. Just one thing, give him a better story. I mean, we don't even get to learn the name of his so-called friend in the cinematic story mode. Capcom can do better. Mika is the next character that I felt deserved a spot on the roster. After years and years of her absence from the series, one of the most popular characters known to Street Fighter made her return in Street Fighter V. Mika is a character that explodes with enthusiasm and raw strength with just her animations alone. She's definitely one of my favorite grapplers in the series. There's only so much Capcom could do with Zangief, but Mika has a ton of potential for growth. I want to see Mika as a strong and successful solo wrestler. If she got the Karen treatment and developed into a more mature version of herself, that would be amazing. Speaking of mature, next up is Ibuki. The crafty nature of Ibuki has always been appealing. Not only is she a speedy character, but she takes advantage of her projectiles to spice up a match. In Street Fighter III, we were graced with a seasoned ninja. However, most of that was thrown away once Street Fighter IV took the series backwards. Chronologically, that is. Like Sakura, I think it's about time that Ibuki graduated from her ninja school and became a full-fledged ninja. There's still things that could be done with her character, and I'm looking forward to it. The significance of this, like the other characters, goes beyond writing and cutscenes. A matured character can contribute to the gameplay as well. It's all about the presentation and appeal. At the end of the day, these characters may be functions, but choosing a character to play as goes deeper than that. That's why fighting games don't have rosters filled entirely with Japanese characters. The next contender is a highlight character of the Street Fighter III series, Makoto. This character operates as another character who doesn't utilize projectiles. Similar to our Mika, Makoto is a character who expresses her adrenaline and raw strength with powerful voice lines to accompany her animations. It's a really nice touch. On the opposite side of the spectrum is the projectile-heavy character Manat. This character has to be one of the most well-designed characters to ever come out of Street Fighter, period. She also has a very carefree attitude, complemented further by her animations. All I would want to see from Manat is a character who has more experience under her belt, but not to the point of losing the carefree attitude that she's known for. Up next is Alex. I feel that Alex solidified himself as a mainstay as early as Street Fighter III. I mean, he was once the main character of Street Fighter III. Gameplay wise, I really have no complaints with his moveset. A casual claim, I know. I really don't have much to add besides simply wanting to see him again. Alex's story is charming. He has a love for his family, a love for wrestling, and a strong passion for improvement. Next up is Elena. We haven't seen this girl in a minute. She's an upbeat character with an impressive range and a rhythmic motion that I find impressive even in 3D. I'm a firm believer that every fighting game should have a capo. Elena is a character that I felt melded well with the variety of unique characters in Street Fighter III. I don't have any specific ideas for her direction in Street Fighter VI, but I do think that her inclusion would liven up the variety of playstyles. Cody, a legendary character from the Final Fight series, an ex-criminal, and the new mayor of Metro City. This character has been through a lot, and he proves that character development and presentation goes hand in hand. Utilizing knives, pipes, and his physical strength, his brawling skills would fit right along in this roster. Following Cody is a character whose charm goes beyond his debonair attitude, Dudley. Dudley would make for the second boxer. Being that the two characters differ in gameplay, the addition wouldn't be unnecessary. In all honesty, I would be content with his moveset mostly staying the same. His utilization of his flurry of punches, launching low heavy, and rolls, makes for an interesting arsenal of moves. Presenting the strongest character in Street Fighter lore, Errol. Errol is one of the handful of fighters that were teased to us in Street Fighter V. His importance to the series is on a caliber similar to Ryu. As Ryu's guiding hand and eventual predecessor, it would only be right to have him in the game. It's always good to have something to compare the main character to in terms of strength, and Errol is a goal for him to follow. Gameplay wise, I hope that Capcom translates his disguise as a seemingly clueless man with crazy strength and unorthodox animation into the 3D space. Next up is Falk. She's a new character that was introduced in Street Fighter V. In regards to gameplay, I like what Falk has going for her. She uses her staff as both a projectile and a melee weapon. Her moveset is fine, but it lacks flash. Don't get me wrong, I like it, but if I had to compare her moveset to someone like Cammy or Cody, characters of similar flair, Falk lags behind. For her story, I look forward to seeing how she evolves as a character. We didn't get much besides flashbacks in Street Fighter V. I want for her to be her own character and not following in the shadow of Ed. Following Falk is Yoon. I don't have much to say about Yoon. simply because I find his character to be perfectly charming all around. On the flip side, Yang definitely has to come along. After all, he and Yoon are counterparts. Just like with Yoon, there's not much I could add. These two characters are popular in the series with unique charm. I look forward to seeing them in the future. I've been waiting for this one. Second to last, I nominate Urania for Street Fighter 6. Urania would make for a great addition to Street Fighter 6. I feel that Urania should take the mode of being the main antagonist of the series. Like I mentioned in my When Should Street Fighter 6 Take Place video, Urania has the potential of shaking things up and being an active antagonist instead of someone who is waiting for an opponent to arrive. Finally, the last character that I believe would be considered for Street Fighter 6 is C. Viper. Viper is a character who utilizes her equipment to perform elemental attacks. Her ground pound, spin kick, and uppercut are just a few of her useful techniques in battle. I could go on and on about how unique this character is, and to think that there was a time that I didn't like her. As an agent trying to put an end to evil organizations while also acting as an anti-hero and mom to her daughter, Viper is a character that has a lot going for her. Give me more interactions, meaningful relationships, and an additional flashy move or two, and I'm all set for her return. After all of that, these are the 26 characters that I predict could make their way into Street Fighter 6. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed the content, check out my video on when Street Fighter 6 should take place. You'll love it.